Okay, we're going to start with the ball of clay like you did before. So however big you want to make that. You've got quite a lot left over for you to play with later on. We're going to form it very much the same way you did with your ring trays or your ring balls. Indent it in the middle. And what we're going to do is pull it up, but where we sort of moved it around to make a lily pad shape really before, we're going to try and pull the edges up a little bit more, because this is the shape we're aiming for. Like a mini plant pot. Again, a dish, whatever you want to put it in. Okay. It's not the neatest thing in the world, but again, you can tidy it up with a bit of, once you've painted it, everything, it'll look completely different. So what I'm going to do is spin like you did before, and we're going to keep pulling the edges up. And if you find that it spreads too much, so it's going to get a bit too wide for you, we can do the cutting method we did earlier on and overlap the sides to bring it in and make it a bit thinner. So if you can get it as tall as you want, sort of, I've gone for the height of my fingers, and you're just dragging your finger from the bottom, and that's forming a bit like a bell shape at the minute, or a pie dish, and I'll get it in the camera, it'd be good, wouldn't it? I'm just going to constantly smooth the sides. If you find your sides getting a bit thin, again, we can slice into it. Okay, and we end up with a plant pot shape. Obviously, I've done quite a few of these, so mine might be a little bit quicker than yours.
It's a bit better than that.
Had a little practice. You see, mine's starting to collapse on the side. So even with all the practice, it's not done exactly what I want it to straight away. So what I'm going to do is flip it on its side and take a chunk out of it. Oh, quite a big chunk apparently. Okay, so we end up with that sort of shape. You can see the difference in thickness as well. If it doesn't work the first time, there's no reason why you can't screw it back up into a ball and start again. Right, but what we're going to do with this one is pull it over and overlap and make your lip and just pinch it together with your fingers.
I like that one as well.
It's a bit thin on both sides, so we're going to do the same on that side as well. And just bring it in and overlap it. There are different methods for making small pots. This is the pinch pot version because you're literally pinching your clay and forming your shape. You can do it with coils. So you make lots of little rings of clay and build them up. So it makes your pot. I remember doing that with a jug once at school. It took forever. I quite like this method, but obviously there's only a certain size you can go up to before it gets a bit unwieldy because it starts flaring out at the top. There's also a method where we just use flat clay, a bit like you would if you were making a sort of tube shape out of paper. You would fold your clay in a similar way and then put a base on the bottom. Does that make sense? You end up with sort of like a square of clay and roll it round. And that would also make a pot of some description, like a vase shape. How are we doing? If you've got the actual shape you like, where I've cut mine, I'm just going to smooth the outsides just to make sure you can't see the joins. I'll just spin that around my fingers.
Oh, it's going a bit weird.
Oh, torn hole in it. At the moment, it looks more like a bag of flour than it does an actual vase, but never mind. I really do think it's one of those things that you're going to find the best method for you to work with by playing with the actual clay that you've got. So if you find a different way of doing it that's more comfortable for you, then go ahead and use that method. And once you've formed your actual shape, what I do is just smooth the outside. Again, if it starts to dry out, you can use the water on the tip of your finger, or you can use a sponge, or you can even use your tools. If you want to decorate it, you can make marks on it. You can use your cutters and add shapes to it. And again, just stick them to the sides like you did with your ring dish. Obviously, this has been a very quick pinch pot, and the more time you take over it, the neater you can be. So you can form your shapes slightly tidier than I am at the moment. And again, if you want to smooth the inside, you can either wait till it's dried and use a little bit of sandpaper, or you can use your tools or your sponge just to tidy it up in the bottom as well.
So if you make this like a little vase and you want to put flowers in, will it hold water or when it's dried and finished?
To be fair, what I was going to do is to strengthen things was to cover it in a mixture of PVA and water to seal it. I don't think it would hold a great deal of water.
No, okay.
It might do it, but even with sealing it, I think there's always that risk that it might seep. But
Yeah.
if you put enough coats in, I would think it'd be all right. Because if you think with PVA, but it's one of those, it's trial and error.
Yeah.
I've never waterproofed any of mine to the point where I've put the PVA on to get the shine, but then I've never actually filled them with water.
Okay. So maybe,
Maybe dry flowers are the option.
yeah. Or,
Maybe you could put a little plastic bag with like a bulb or something in, you know, like with a bit of soil in the bottom with in a plastic bag.
I think if you made it big enough, it could hold another plant pot or something like that.
Yeah.
One of the videos, I think I was looking at something on Pinterest the other day, and they'd used the air plants.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, they'd be nice in them, wouldn't they?
That they don't require any water or soil, so you can just pop them in your pot.
Yeah.
They need a little bit of a spray after every so often, but you just take them out. I think
Oh, those little succulents, you can get those succulents, can't you? That don't need a lot, do they?
Yeah. I think it could deal with a little bit of moisture, but just because of the
We've got to tell Kelly we've had
nature of the material, I don't know if I'd risk filling it with water.
okay. I was thinking about snowdrops. And,
Yeah.
See if I've got enough time. Prue, am I all right for time?
You
minutes?
have 7 minutes.
7 minutes. You think we can do this in 7 minutes?
Okay, so
You can see this was your other option for your pot, was to roll yourself out. I didn't do one of these in practice. It's been a little while. And we're going to make a mini one. So just rolling out yourself a rectangle. I'm going to use my tiny little bit of gypsophilia just to stamp on the side.
that'll look really pretty.
And then we're going to form it around, she says. Is that going to slide off? With a bit of
I've scrunched now and it's gone a bit floppy. I'm going to do it again.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap that over. So you end up with a tube. And at this point, yeah, you've got your tube shape. So at this point, you can either pinch your bottom together to make your base, like that, or you can cut yourself out a bit of a lid.
That's good, isn't it?
Oh, not the neatest in the world, but hey ho. Stick that on the bottom and just press your sides down, or even bring the sides up. And then you can trim them. If you just pinch around the edge, you can also use not your best fabric scissors, but I would, if you've got any crafting scissors, no paper scissors and no fabric scissors, a small pair of scissors, just trim it as well. So if you want a neater edge, a bit like with your pinch bowls as well, if with the wet clay on the pinch bowls, if you found you've got a slightly dried frilly edge, you can always go around with a pair of scissors and that'll help neaten everything up as well. So obviously your tools aren't that sharp with them all being plastic. Okay. And there we have a very rough and ready tube-like vase with an imprint on the side of it. A bit clearer. You just use the plant to texture it. And you can make a larger version of that. It's probably a better method for making something a little bit larger than the things we've been playing with today.
That looks
You don't
really
do-
neat.
Yeah, it's just, that one just sort of fits on my finger, so that is like you can judge how small it is by the fact of mine to get it onto my hand. And again, you can neaten up your sides just with your finger or your tools. Again, you can cut things out, add it to it whilst it's wet. Actually, once your clay is dry, if you decide to add cutouts to it, you can put the wet clay on top of it, or you could actually have both parts dry out and then use a bit of PVA glue to stick things on it. How are we getting on?
Great, thank you.
Not as neat as yours, but it's okay.
But it is tempting to play with it a little bit too much sometimes, and that's when it starts to dry out. So when you're smoothing all your edges over.
I think I've probably gone the other way and added a bit of water to sort of wet it, and it's made it a bit gulpy.
Oh, busy to look.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Observed.
So for next week's class, because we're doing
so
Tag.
somebody said,
and using textures and things, if there's any fabric you want to use, we were going to use plant material in a couple of weeks anyway, but again, if you want any dried flowers or any particular stamps you've got for card making or anything you'd like to use, you can use them on the clay, and then all you do is just wash them before you use them again for your inks. But you can use all that sort of thing for texturing your clay even, to make your tags and things for next week. You've also got a card in your box somewhere with an envelope. The idea being that you make a greetings card and attach your tags or your tokens to the front of it next week if you want to. You can make a Valentine's card if you really feel that way inclined. However, you could also make anything you like.
That's it.
If you've got excess clay like I